Lately, I've been working mostly on our kitchen cabinets, which I previously left looking like this. I had made some mistakes with the brickwork which I had to fix before I could put the rest of the wooden frames for the cabinet doors in place. My main mistake was not making the end bricks perfectly straight, which was kind of deliberate because my original plan had involved adding more cement on top, so I thought everything would get evened out at that stage. However, that plan wasn't going to work out, so the only thing I could do at this point was to use the angle grinder to even the edges out and get us back to a flat surface. This was a really horrible job to do in a kitchen that you're also trying to use as a kitchen. Afterwards, we had to wash literally everything to get brick and cement dust off, but at least it was done. I then had to apply a layer of cement to close up the holes in the brick so that I had a solid surface to screw the frames of the doors into. Once the brickwork was fixed, I could start measuring and preparing the wood I was going to use for the frames of the cabinet doors. Meanwhile, I was also working on the other 5 cabinet doors that I had already roughly made for the other side of the kitchen. I'd made these pieces just to check the sizings, and they needed taking apart and sanding and then putting back together again. My mum helped me disassemble and assemble them all whilst I cracked on with the sanding. So I've just been sanding all the pieces of the doors that we dismantled and sanding every individual piece so that it's all nice and smooth and clean. It's taking absolutely ages. It's a really fun job. It's really nice to see the pallets transform from ugly, stained, old pieces of wood that look rubbish into actually nice looking wood with the grain popping out and everything. So it's a really fun job, but it's just taking forever. Partly I think because probably it would be quicker with a actual band sander, I think they're called, rather than the angle grinder with a sanding disc on it. And it's also really hard because the angle grinder is really heavy actually, so trying to maneuver it and move it around, it's really hurting my hand, but it's still a really fun job. So this is where I got to the other day with the cabinets on this side of the room. Managed to get 2 doors on. Today I'm going to see if I can finish getting the rest of those doors on and maybe also get the framing on these ones in this corner. I haven't made the doors yet for these ones, so I'm not sure I'll be able to do that as well today, but it's a Saturday, so Mauro is around to help, so we'll see how much we can get done. So this morning we sanded loads of wood and I got, did I get any more doors on? No, I just got the frames on the corner cabinets. We have reconstructed 1 more door and I'm going to carry on this afternoon and give Mauro a bit of a break from the sanding. I'm actually really enjoying this job. It's a nice change to be like standing up at a nice workstation and doing something clean. So while we've got sanding to do, I'm definitely happy to do some. We're getting so much leftover wood, all the offcuts that we're generating, all of this can be burnt. It's all pine, I think. It's all only heat treated. We check our pallets by the little mark on them, so anything that's just heat treated is good to burn.
So yeah, apart from sanding the boards, what I did was the biggest holes, the ones that were ugly and didn't want to see on the kitchen, I did a mix of wood glue and sawdust, which we have a surplus of, and yeah, filled in the holes, and hopefully this will dry, sort of look like wood, and I will sand it once it's dry. Yeah, and then it will be better than a hole. So yeah, it's really nice how you can revive an ugly palette into
I always say
nice
the same.
doors. It's great.
Yeah. After making some more progress on the corner cabinet doors, I decided to turn my attention to the long cabinets below the window, which also needed some fixing. The first job was to remove the mosquito netting because I was planning to build up the frame of the window a little higher to allow space for a splashback above the countertop before the window starts. However, we immediately encountered a problem. Where is it falling?
There.
Okay, so we could either move the bricks in so that that is aligned with that, right?
Yep.
And lose maybe 10 centimeters of worktop.
And we'll see on the other side here.
Worse.
Yeah, you have more gap.
It turned out that the windowsill side of the bottom of the window hole was not parallel with the top edge of the window hole, if that makes sense. You can see the wall kind of curves inwards, and when we make a straight line of bricks at the bottom, they line up differently with the wall on either side. We decided the best thing, well, the only thing to do is to treat the most deeply recessed side of the hole as the benchmark and try and get our new row of bricks level with that. So the window area was a bit of a mess. It was a good job I had my friend John helping me there that day, because without him I probably would have just carried on building up the window area like I was planning to, and I wouldn't have noticed that it would have been super wonky. I should have realised, because yeah, by now I should know that everything in this house is wonky and you need to double check literally everything if you're expecting it to be straight or parallel. But yeah, luckily we caught that and we're able to kind of fix it. Hopefully now we've got a straight, properly rectangular window hole that we can get a window fitted into. I have to say I am a little bit nervous about fitting the window because yeah, we've never done that before, but we'll see how it goes when we come to it. However, that wasn't the only mistake that we had to fix that day. I had also made a mistake with the brickwork of the cabinets. They were the first cabinet area that I'd built in brick in the kitchen, and I hadn't made the tops of the countertops like overhang the cabinet area enough. I guess I just wasn't really thinking. I wasn't thinking through how it was going to work, or maybe I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, the top of the counter needs to overhang so that, you know, when you wipe food off, it doesn't all just go into the cabinets and you have a nice little ledge. So yeah, we had to fix that. Our first thought was to try and make some sort of a form around the edge of the countertop and just build it out with more cement. Maybe put something like rebar or some sort of material to like mesh the two bits together. I'm not explaining this very well. Anyway, we didn't do that plan. What we realized would be easier was just to build a whole new countertop with these long bricks on top of the one that I'd already built. It would raise the height of the countertop by a couple of centimeters, but that was fine because Mauro actually prefers a slightly higher countertop. We'd done it at about 91, 92, but he was happy for it to be a bit higher, and it's not uncomfortable for me either. And that was way easier than trying to build a form around this horrible weird shape, which would have just taken at least a day to even just get the form built. So that's what we did. It was actually super quick. We filled in a lot of space with rubble as well. It's always good to use up some rubble in these things. And yeah, we've now got a countertop which we're pretty happy with. So I'm glad we solved some annoying problems with that area of the kitchen and spotted some problems that we didn't even know existed. Now we've smoothed some of those things out, it really gives me a good base to carry on with the other things which I already know what I'm doing. The tiling, the actual cabinets themselves, the doors and all of that. So I was able to crack on with that. Good morning. I am just in the garden this morning. I came out this morning and had a quick look around and I thought, oh my god, the chickens have really made a mess. When did I let them out? When were they last in here? And then I had a closer look and I realised that, yeah, chicken definitely didn't do this. So we've had our first wild boar pass through the garden. It was only a matter of time. We do see signs of them in other areas of the land, but I've never seen them this close to the garden area. But yeah, one of them has come through and has had a good dig around in some of the beds, so I'm going to put those back together. It took me pretty much a whole day to put the garden back together, replant all the plants that have been dug up, and even a number of trees that have been completely uprooted. So the boar came back, of course, or boars, but I think it was just one. It came back 2 nights later and the dog started barking in the middle of the night and I thought, oh, it's got to be the boar. So I got up and I went outside and I could hear it rooting around, throwing stuff around in the garden, and as soon as I came out and started clapping, it ran away. I heard its feet like thundering across the field and the garden was overturned again. The exact same beds that it had gone for the previous time. They must have just smelled really nice. So there I was again, putting them all back together, and I thought, I really can't do this every couple of days. So I made a decision and I decided that the easiest thing I could do was to fence the garden. Should we get rid of it?
It doesn't look very alive. It's barely attached to the
Yeah, I don't think it did anything last year. Alright, let's get rid of it. We've got enough.
Poor little tree.
I decided to put 2 wires close to the ground, so I set to work fixing the spacers onto all the posts, including the metal corner posts. Meanwhile, we were also cutting back any vegetation which would touch the fence, which affects how well it works. I used the grass I cut back as mulch around the base of one of the trees which the boars had dug up. Everything is so dry right now because we've had a really dry winter. And if you're wondering about the weird colour in the sky in these last few shots, it's because there was actually an out of control forest fire about 50 kilometres from us that afternoon. So that is the second line done. I'm only doing 2 lines for now. That went quite well. It's just getting dark now, the sun is just setting, so pretty impressed that I finished in a day. Well, I didn't really have a day, I was out pretty much all day, so I had a couple of hours in the morning and a couple of hours this evening, but it is done. I'm glad I've done this before. I've done this with the goats when they were in electric fencing. And the first time I did it for them, it took ages. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what bits I needed. I didn't know how it was all supposed to go together. So I'm glad I've already had the practice because this went very smoothly. The garden is all fenced. I'm leaving a little bit extra here because I need to go around this tree. Well, I'm going around this tree, but I want to put some actual little isolator things here, so that it's not just touching all the trunk. But I don't have time to drill that into the tree trunk at the moment. So all that's left to do is plug in the little battery box, which is called a pastoret in Spanish, which is like a little shepherd, which is really cute. And hopefully it works. So these 2 are the earthing rods. They go in the ground a little distance from one another. So maybe like here and here. And this connects to the wire. Just remember that I need to attach the wires together, otherwise I'll only be electrifying one. Okay. Okay, that's it. I'm not sure you can see that well in the dusk, but the garden is all fenced. I quite like these green posts because they're quite unobtrusive. I didn't really want to have the garden fenced. I didn't want it to look like it was fenced. But it doesn't look too bad, so I'm quite happy about that. The wire is also low because boars are like low to the ground. I don't think it needs to be any higher, but I'll add another 3rd wire if this doesn't seem to work. I'm going to turn it on and hopefully I won't get woken up tonight by dogs barking and boars scuffling around in the garden and overturning things. I think this protects this area well enough for now. It's been a few days and everything is fine. I did also say that I wanted to start having Una outside and that maybe she could also perform the function of scaring away anything that might come in the night, like boars and things like that. A lot of people around here have dogs outside for that reason. A lot of people mentioned in the comments that Una's not a massive dog and boars can be quite aggressive, which is very true. So I definitely want her to be safe. My plan is to build her a kennel with like a little door on it so that she can sort of see out, or at least hear what's going on outside. Hopefully she'll bark if she sort of hears any disturbance outside, but over the night she wouldn't be free to wander around and get into trouble. I definitely don't trust her doing that anyway, because she does wander off sometimes, and I wouldn't want her to be wandering around possibly getting into trouble at night when we're not around to see what she's up to, and just roughly keep an eye on her. So I'm going forward with that plan as well, because like I said, it's not just for keeping predators and stuff away that I want her outside. She also doesn't really fit in the house, and she's not that well suited to living in the house. I started off by setting out the area where I want to put the kennel. It's between the chicken coop and the garden, so it's in a kind of central place. It's also pretty close to the house, so she's not out in the middle of nowhere. I put a little border of stones around the edge and laid some chicken wire on the bottom for the cement base to kind of adhere to and give it a bit more tensile strength. I have now laid the cement base, and I think what I'm going to do is ask our workshare group if anyone fancies helping me build the actual kennel. I think it should be a fun challenge, and getting lots of people together is always good for the designing of stuff like this. They were a huge help with the chicken coop and came up with lots of ideas that I never would have come up with, so I think we're going to see how we get on with lots of brains put to the challenge of building this dog kennel. Good morning. I am just on my way back from a dog walk. Sorry, I just come up a very steep hill. Yeah, I've just come back from a dog walk, just on the last stretch, and I'm going to spend a day in the kitchen for the first time in ages. As you will have seen, my previous kitchen work got interrupted by some wild boar activity, which is now solved. Hopefully, at least, we haven't had any visits in the last few days, so fingers crossed. And yeah, it's time to get back on with the kitchen. I'm going to work on some tiling today, so I'm going to start cutting out all the tiles that I need to finish the countertops and the inside bits of the cupboards, and I'm hopefully going to get that all stuck on today. I don't think I'm going to film much of it because, knowing me, it's going to be very messy. I'm not a very neat tiler. I end up doing a lot with my hands and not with the actual tools, so yeah, I'm not going to be like operating a camera at the same time, but I'll show you where we get to at the end of the day. enjoying cooking in our new mini kitchen. I'm going to call this the mini kitchen. The corner is done. I still haven't put doors on 2 of the cabinets, and I'm not sure I'm going to because we've just got stuff that's like, yeah, cooking utensils and stuff that you sometimes just want to grab quickly. So in that sense, it's kind of done, this little corner. Apart from covering up this pipe, whatever I'm going to do to cover up the pipe and put shelves and stuff up, but it's usable and I'm really enjoying using it to cook. What do you think, Mal?
Yeah, it's really nice, especially for me that the previous surfaces were too short for me.
Yeah,
now it's really comfortable.
Really the height of the gas stove though is a bit too high for me. I sort of have to lean over. I think I need like a little stool down here or something.
Yeah, that'll be cute.
Definitely when we're doing canning and stuff like that, the pots are really tall, so that's going to be a bit awkward, but the stove itself is great and I'll be really happy to get rid of the old one since we don't really use the oven on it at all, it doesn't work. But yeah, I'm really happy with this corner of the kitchen. I'm going to call this a win. Maybe we do need doors on these cupboards. Tuffy, what are you doing? Tuffy, get out of there. So yeah, this is definitely a win. I think.
Yeah, take the W.
Yeah, I think with this I'm gonna pause on the kitchen for a week or so and do something else because it's been a lot, and yeah, I'm just gonna bask in this this win. Anyway, see you next time.